Okay, so now the city collects your money. You really trust how they spend it? I've been watching them a lot. And I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. I want to start out with a reminder because this is going to be something different, something new that I've never said before. So I want to make sure that it's not confused with the issue that I talked about before. Last month I spoke about how the city of Santa Clarita appeared to be handling Proposition 218 funds inappropriately. Proposition 218, or the Right to Vote on Tax Increases Act, is supposed to create funding by district that can only be used for the benefit of the district. That's the tenet of Proposition 218. So at the time a district is formed, whether it be a fire district or a landscape maintenance district or any kind of a district, they talk about what is going to be included as the services to benefit the property within that district. Notice I said benefit the property, not the person. Because if you're benefiting people, it's called a general benefit, and then it goes on a ballot and everybody votes for it. But if it is in a district, it benefits the property, and then only the property owners vote on it. So how the city uses language kind of clouds the issue sometimes. I talked about last time when in one place where we were talking about Shangri-La and the Drainage Benefit Assessment District, which is a Proposition 218 assessment district, and they're using that money to pump water out from underneath the mountain. And all of a sudden they realized they didn't have enough money. So what they did was they decided to fund it out of a landscape maintenance district that encompassed that same area. That's truly improper and illegal. But the way they justified it was they said, well, Proposition 218 allows us to account for water issues in a Proposition 218 assessment district, which is absolutely true. However, it's only true if you define it at the time you generate the district. You can't add it in later unless you go out for another vote of the property owner. This is part of the issue of that. So we were talking about all these different things about Proposition 218 assessment districts, and all of a sudden I got to reading a Signal article. And the Signal typically, I think Signal is particularly worthless here in the city because they don't really point at real issues, but sometimes something slips through. And so here it talked about, in this article, that the Central Park contractor was fired due to lack of performance. And the contractor was overseeing an $11 million expansion effort at Central Park. That's a pretty big job. I don't think there's anything that's improper if the city decides that they're not performing. But all of a sudden, in the middle of that article, in just a few words, they said the sum of money that was being spent to do this job was paid largely through funds received by the city through federal COVID-19 relief programs. So, wait a minute. You have a COVID relief program and you're building a park? Doesn't sound exactly right. Last time I saw this go on, you remember we had a different president who was trying to fund shovel-ready projects. Remember that? Remember when Obama was with his shovel-ready project stuff? So he comes to Santa Clarita and they say, we have a shovel-ready project. And it was supposed to increase infrastructure. You know what it built? It built the right turn lane on Via Princesa and Soledad on the the southeast corner. And we thought that was kind of flaky, but this time, so I looked at it, I said, I just don't believe that's the right thing to do. Where can I find some information about what you're supposed to be spending money on? So I went on to the U.S. Department of the Treasury website, and I found guidance for coronavirus capital project funds for states, territories, and freely associated states. That's a handbook. It's a whole handbook of doing that, okay? And then inside the handbook, it talks about, is your project eligible for our money? And just taking the top of it, it says, Section 604 authorizes capital projects to fund recipients to use capital project fund grant programs for critical capital projects that directly enable work, education, and health monitoring in response to the COVID-19 health emergency. Is that what Central Park was? Does that anywhere respond to the COVID emergency? Matter of fact, they were keeping you off the park for a lot of that period of time. So I was amazed. So it says such projects include options as for a capital project to be eligible for use of capital project fund grants, it must meet all of the following criteria. The capital project invests in capital assets designed to directly enable work, education, health monitoring. I don't think a ball field does that. I mean, I'd love to have more ball fields. I'd love to have a bigger Central Park. But is that really what this money was for? And you know what? That's probably one of the reasons why there's so much distrust of government today, is because they use money for the wrong thing. They turn around and say, I'm going to use this wonderful thing, so give me money, and then they go and use it for something else. The capital project is to address a critical need that resulted or was made apparent or exacerbated by COVID-19 public health emergency. Was the park? No, I don't think so. Capital project is designed to address a critical need of the community served by it. Maybe, but 1 and 2 definitely not. So it also talks about projects which are ineligible. So if you're building an infrastructure project such as a highway, a bridge, transit system, ports, are ineligible for capital projects fund program. General construction and improvement of hospitals or traditional schools are not presumed to be eligible. There may be opportunities to get them funded another way, and we'll review that on a case-by-case basis. But it doesn't really sound like we're using that money appropriately. So you know what I decided to do? I said, well, I'm going to start out, I'm going to ask a city council member. So I did. I texted one of my city council members that talks to me, and there aren't that many. And I talked to them about the issue. I texted him, and he said that he was told that in a conversation he had with the city manager, that staff had a discussion with the feds, and that they approved the use of those funds. And I texted him back, said, I hope he got that in writing. So what now? What can we do now? Well, I decided maybe a public records request might do. So I put in this public records request, 6441082, and I asked to please provide all the correspondence, including emails, formal responses, letters, and staff notes related to the City of Santa Cruz obtaining COVID relief funds. Of particular interest is written and oral communication of how the funding was planned to be used by the city. Let's see what I get back. I'm supposed to get it back in 2 weeks. And then I'm going to discuss it again with Mr. Miranda. I've supposedly had a meeting with Mr. Miranda about the Human Relations Roundtable, and he's canceled it and moved it on me 3 times. So now it's just before the council meeting, probably will be okay. This is one of the issues I'm going to bring up to him. Did he know when he signed this off of how it was being funded? Did he know about what the criteria was? Does he think the money is being used properly? I don't know. So there you go. There's another issue. And I'm going to ask him also about the Proposition 218 assessment districts. And if I don't get a really good answer, I'm doing 2 things. One is I'm going to send a letter to the state indicating that I believe, and I'm going to use all information off of the city website to say this money is being used inappropriately. You know, what can you do about it? And then maybe one of the feds as well. We'll see what happens. Yes, ma'am. Come on up here and talk in the mic.
I'm just curious because I've never seen it up here, but you've been here longer. That concert of, what's his name? Brad Paisley. Did the city put up any of the monies for it at Central Park? Are they, I mean, I've never seen a concert like that.
I'll tell you how Central Park was formed, okay?
Okay.
All right. Central Park originally was taken by eminent domain by the water company. Rules of eminent domain say that if you no longer need the funding, you must either turn the land over to some public good, or allow the property owner to repurchase it at the same price that you gave it to them, that you gave them for it initially. Well, water company didn't want to give the money, but give the land back up. So what they did was they leased it to the city for $1, and then the city had to come up with the money to build initial parts of Central Park. Now, in those days, we had a person on the council who I really respected named Clyde Smythe. That's Cameron's father, and Cameron is not father like son, you know. So I really liked Clyde, and what he did was he showed me something that was really amazing. He showed me really how to build a really good consensus. So he went to all of the different groups around the city who were looking for more sports programs, and I was at the time the leader of the Santa Cruz Adult Sports Committee, it was softball committee, and talked about how we could put a part of this in for every one of us. And so he gained this great consensus, and they championed and passed a measure on the ballot, Proposition B, that borrowed money and generated the money to build Central Park. And what he did was every time that they had a meeting about it, he invited all of us, talked to us about how he was going to benefit everybody, and had a great consensus going. Everybody loved him. And that's how the initial part of Central Park got built. After that, parts of it have been built with general fund money, parts of it have been built with grant money.
It's a private concern.
Private? What private?
It's private, the boots and beer thing.
Yeah,
It's
boots
a private,
and beer.
it's a private function.
I understand, but did the city give them any money to bring something out here because?
The private industry.
All right, hold on. You guys got to talk into the microphone. But what are you talking about?
Okay, Brad Paisley is.
Now come on up here.
Okay. Brad Paisley is doing a concert through, what is it, Boots and Beer, whatever, and they're using Central Park, okay, and they're charging an exorbitant amount of money. But who initiated? I mean, I don't see Brad Paisley choosing to perform at Central Park. I mean, he should be at Dodger Stadium or somewhere.
What you're saying is Brad Paisley rented Central Park.
I don't know.
Well,
I mean,
I would be very surprised if the city gave it to him.
no, I don't know.
I mean, they wouldn't even give us a room for $40 an hour, right?
Well, but the point is, did they solicit the company and say, we will do this for that, to get something very big?
All right, well,
it's a very big
here's the way to
project.
find out. Here's the way to find out. The way to find out is to put in a public records request and find out how much they gave the city to use Central Park.
Okay, but then how would we find out if the city didn't initiate something like a special offer to
You
get
ask
them
them
here?
for all the correspondence and information, blah, 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 pertaining to the whole thing, and see what you get. But I'll bet what you're going to get is you're going to get something that will show that they have leased Central Park for a specific period of time to do whatever it is they're doing. And you could do that too if you had the money to do it.
I understand, but I really feel that the city somehow went out and solicited this place for the purpose, because
I hear what you're saying. And if that's what the public records request shows, we can go out and beat them with it. But other than that, just saying it might have happened doesn't work. You have to have definite proof of what's happened, and in a lot of cases, they'll give it to you because they have to.
Okay, but has there ever been anything on that magnitude here before?
Yeah, it was an annual event of the code.
What?
They've had it 2 or 3 times.
Who?
This boots and beer thing, they've had, it's been an event in Central Park.
Well, then what we need to do is do a public records request and find out how much they paid for it.
Still COVID, but this is probably the 3rd or 4th annual one that they've had.
They also do the
All right, well,
natural walk there.
let's you and I get together, Rick, and we'll put in a public records request and ask. But I'm betting that what they've done is they have leased it for some amount of money. Where they got the money, you're never going to find out. But we'll see what we get. Okay. See, it's very, very important. Very important to maintain your credibility when you go up in front of council and say, you did this, that you have something to back yourself up with. I mean, I just can't feel like I can't go up there and say, I think you might have done this. That doesn't work.